My mission is simple, to make you money. I'm here to level the playing field for all investors. There's always a bull market somewhere, and I promise to help you find it. Mad Money starts now. Hey, I'm Cramer. Welcome to Mad Money. Welcome to Cramerica. Other people want to make friends. I'm just trying to make you a little money. My job is not just to entertain you, but to educate and teach. So call me at 1-800-743-CNBC or tweet me at Jim Cramer. May I kindly and politely ask the politicians around the world to cool it and stop doing more harm than good? Maybe do your jobs and protect us from real problems. Maybe support businesses that work and stop attacking them. Maybe stop shaking down winners and go after the bad actors instead. On a day where the Dow dropped 260 points, S&P shed 0.86%, NASDAQ lost 0.72%, and believe me, it was much worse earlier today. I put this sell-off squarely in the laps of politicians around the world because we right now have a failure of global leadership. They know nothing. Let's start with the obvious one, the Delta COVID variant, which we're going to be hearing from more later from the outspoken genius, and I mean it, Dr. Eric Topol. First, here in America, we are doing a much better job of getting people vaccinated than most countries. But we screwed up big time when we made the vaccination process voluntary. Millions of people around the world, they've died of COVID. Millions have been saved by the vaccines. Yet now we have a new strain of the virus that's spreading like wildfire in the parts of the country where people seem to be afraid of needles or politically against the process. I want you to compare that with one of the great presidents, President Eisenhower, who mandated that everyone get vaccinated against polio as soon as we had a working vaccine. It wasn't some voluntary thing where the government recognized your right to choose to get sick and spread a deadly illness to others. Wiping out polio was an imperative that Eisenhower refused to botch under any circumstances. By the way, we did the exact same thing with smallpox 120 years ago. But today we got no rules. We don't know if companies can force their workers to get vaccinated. We don't even have the FDA on board. Neither Pfizer's vaccine nor Moderna's have actually been approved. They're just being administered under emergency use authorizations. The FDA will approve an Alzheimer's drug of incredibly dubious efficacy, but a vaccine that's been given to hundreds of millions of people is treated as an experimental exception? Maybe you think this is a technicality, but so many Americans don't trust the vaccines, and the lack of FDA approval sure doesn't help. I challenge the FDA to explain themselves and their foolhardy behavior. They are just plain off the reservation. I point all of this out because today's sell-off was all about the Delta variant, especially the way governments around the world have dropped the ball in containing it. I was watching the futures at 4 a.m., and they were soggy, but they took the real header when we learned that there would be no spectators allowed at the Tokyo Olympics. What the heck was the Japanese government thinking? Now, I couldn't understand this decision for the life of me until I looked up the numbers, and I saw that only 15% of Japan's people are fully vaccinated. 15. I can't believe they would let the Olympics go forward without seriously preparing for a major outbreak. But even now, banning spectators seems crazy. I have another idea. Why not just ban everyone who's not vaccinated? Governments. Hey, how about the PRC when we're at it, the People's Republic of China, insisting on using its own vaccines, even though they only work about typically, at best, as well as a flu vaccine, maybe 80%, but some say it's closer to 50%, okay? 50%. That's not enough. Now, if they swallowed their pride and went with Pfizer or Moderna, their people would be much better protected. Oh, but they won't do that. Yeah. And now China's economy is slowing thanks to a resurgent COVID outbreak. Totally unnecessary. Yes, they could bite the bullet, tie up with Pfizer or Moderna, but what I hope they do at least is go with BioNTech, the partner of Pfizer. Now, we know governments around the world have handled this virus poorly. I think that much of the weakness here, including the decline in Treasury yields that everyone's so upset about, that has to do with the spread of the Delta variant, too. You should fear it. Fear what it'll do to travel. Fear that it will mutate and break through the vaccine. That's making investors worry about slowing growth. So you end up with this negative loop where people swap from stocks to bonds. That's plain and simple what's happening, okay? Believe me, I've done enough work behind the scenes to know that I'm not just saying this idly. It's not just that the world leaders keep finding new ways to screw up the response to the pandemic, though. Some stocks are also getting hit thanks to hostile government intervention. We know the Democrats and Republicans hate each other. Oh, right? I mean, ridiculous. The only thing they seem to agree on is that Facebook, Amazon, Alphabet, Apple are too powerful and must be broken up or punished or something. They want to investigate big tech, sue them, penalize them. They want to pass laws to hobble them, like Kathy Bates did to James Caan in Misery, one of Stephen King's best, although some of those scenes are hard to watch. Yesterday, after the close, we learned that Alphabet's being challenged on antitrust grounds for something we didn't even notice as users. I mean, come on. Sometimes I wonder if the politicians from both parties are aliens, maybe from like Mars or something, who don't use these services. Hey, maybe it's just that they tend to be really old. I'm looking at those ages. They've chosen to go after all these big tech companies that make our lives better and offer us amazing bargains. To the extent that there's a real antitrust case here, it's that the bargains are too good, to the point where they unfairly hobble the competition. But the solution to that so-called problem is forcing, say, Amazon to raise prices. Hey, thanks for nothing. Or how about President Biden suddenly coming out and downgrading the railroads? That's how I see his new executive order to combat consolidation, allegedly anti-competitive behavior in the rail industry. This is the first time I've ever heard anyone accuse the rails of price gouging. I see what the White House is doing. This is part of a big antitrust push. But if you want to be pro-environmental, President, maybe it's not the best idea to attack the rails. They get 400 miles to the gallon, making them our best hope for clean transportation. Maybe Biden just wants to block KSU, Canadian National. But his executive order crushed the whole group. What the heck are they supposed to do? Lower prices when the competition trucks has gotten more expensive? Railroads are natural monopolies, so you have to expect a certain amount of regulation. This is gratuitous. A reminder that this is not a pro-business presidency, anti-business. That said, an American president who's hostile to business is a heck of a lot milder than Chinese president who's hostile to business. It's like President Xi suddenly remembered that China is supposed to be a communist country. The Communist Party doesn't want billionaires in their society. They don't want cryptocurrency either, so they're trying to stamp both out. Xi has turned out to be an equal opportunity destroyer. I'm still raw over the Didi IPO. He let the Chinese Uber come public here, then wrecked its earnings potential a few days later by forcibly removing it from all the app stores. Don't blame me. I didn't know. That was pretty egregious, although obviously it doesn't come close to the worst crimes of the regime. And I'm talking here about putting religious minorities in concentration camps. Yes, Nike, they do that. Finally, can our government get it together and make it a crime to pay off the hackers and ransomware attacks, please? That would force the prospective targets to actually spend more money on cybersecurity. As long as we have no real system in place, businesses will underinvest in protecting themselves, and the attacks will keep coming. See, it's cheaper to pay off the bad guys than to bring in a CrowdStrike or a Palo Alto. The good news, if we get the COVID variants under control by forcing people to get vaccinated, I think bond yields and the stock market will start rising again. Bad news. I don't see much hope for speeding up vaccinations without either paying people money or coercing them, neither of which is going to happen in this country. Here's the bottom line. America is one of the best vaccination programs on earth, and we're still getting hammered by the Delta variant. So just imagine how the rest of the world's doing, and you know why the stock market got clobbered in the morning and improved as the overseas markets closed during the day.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @JimCramer on Twitter. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadTweets. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.